Hey ideators and entrepreneurs, CUNY Startups here. Welcome to CUNY and Beyond, the podcast dedicated to helping inspiring entrepreneurs through storytelling. We're excited to dive into the entrepreneurial endeavors of CUNY students, alum, and bonus entrepreneurs who are willing to share their valuable insights with you. Join us for today's show. I'm your host today, Adia Johnson, and today we have someone truly special joining us. We have India Sneed-Williams. She's the founder of IQEQ Law, PLLC, a boutique law firm specializing in business and government law. And yes, she's also one of my incredible sorority sisters. Thank you, India, for being here and taking the time out to talk about your firm.
Thank you so much for having me, Adia. It's an absolute pleasure.
Let's take it back. You're a Baruch alum. Me too. Bearcats forever. So what was your time like at Baruch, and what first sparked your interest in law?
My time at Baruch was incredible. If I wasn't in the classroom or the cafeteria or utilizing office hours, I was likely on 3 in the club rooms. My particular club was MPAG. That was a multi-purpose performing arts group. We had a blast. We performed all over the city, definitely during Caribbean Week and upstate at Binghamton when we could. And in terms of what sparked my interest in law, I was undecided for the most part. I ended up choosing communications because it made sense. It was practical at the time and it didn't require too much of a commitment. And, beyond graduation, I could probably utilize it anywhere. But I was in my senior year. It was fall semester. And quite frankly, I was daydreaming during class. The speaker happened to be speaking about civil rights. And I come from a civil rights background. My mom was deeply entrenched. So while he's talking, I'm daydreaming, and I had an aha moment at the very end. And I said, I want to be the female Al Sharpton, right? Went up to him afterwards and I said to him, hey, I want to change the laws. I want to really do things in my community. And he said, well, to change the law, you need to know the law. So from there on, it was just a mission and commitment to get into law school.
What made you say, okay, it's time to build my own? Because I'm sure you were working at a firm prior to that. So what pushed you from working at another firm and creating your own?
So just a quick little bit about my background. I have a lot of experience in and outside of New York City and New York State government, about 10 combined years in and out of government, 4 in private sector. When I was in private sector, I was at a big law firm. It was amazing, lots of amenities, great team, lots of support. And it got to a point where it was like I could be doing this exact work on my own and getting all of the money. So I had decided that it was time. It was just time to take the leap. I do think that it was very important for me to get the instruction and the experience in big law outside of government opportunities, because it taught you to be extremely entrepreneurial. You had to be a go-getter, a self-starter. All of those terms in the real world are absolutely applicable and necessary. I find myself grinding even harder as a solopreneur, but the freedom and flexibility that I get to enjoy is unparalleled to anything else that I've ever experienced. And I'm not sure that I could go back to being an employee again.
Well, aside from grinding, because that's kind of like a challenge or an obstacle in itself, right? Because you're always hustling and always thinking about the next client or whatever. What has been the biggest curveball for you that you faced during this transition from working at a firm to creating your own?
Yeah, I think there's a perception that you have to be an expert in the thing that you do. And while it is extremely imperative to have a strong knowledge base in anything that you do, law is very nuanced. It spans the breadth of so many different topics. It's okay to have a foundational understanding of a thing, whether it be law or something else, and learn as you go. So I think the biggest curveball for me was missing out on opportunities because I didn't feel like I was ready. I had the foundational skill, but I wouldn't necessarily be in a continuing education class to lead it, right? And based on that, and I believe also imposter syndrome, I would back away and shy away from opportunities and literally missed money as well as the opportunity to learn. Because quite frankly, unless you're in the thing, you're probably not going to get the same experience and education that you would from a book or from shadowing someone. So I say, cautiously jump in and just do it. You can learn, you can find mentors, you can find resources that'll help you along the way.
Speaking of imposter syndrome, I can't remember where I read this before, but most women
encounter that at one point or another? It is always because we say a job has 10 roles and you have maybe 8 things that you already know you won't apply. Where a guy will have 4 and he'll still apply, knowing he doesn't have the other 6. So
that's absolutely something that I've had to get over. I think it's a daily battle in some ways, whether it's just me doubting myself and saying, I don't have all 10, I just have 8, no, or whether it's literally walking into a room where everyone else is perceived, again, perception, but perceived as an expert in whatever it is that they do. Once you actually start to have conversations with people, you start to realize that people don't know as much as you may give them credit for. And I like to revisit my resume every now and then. And it's not necessarily the resume that I would send out to a potential employer or a potential client. It's more so, yes, these are the titles and the job duties that I had, but what were my achievements in that? What did I pick up along the way that is important to me, might not be as necessary on a resume? And once you start writing those things out, you actually come to realize that you have a lot more skill set than you probably give yourself credit for. So I recommend quarterly or twice a year, going back to what you have learned in the classroom, what you have learned on the block, what you've learned in your household, little lessons that you've picked up, and you will see that you have come quite a long way.
Speaking of skills and achievements and picking up things along the way, what skills have you picked up along the way, and what have you learned about yourself in the process?
Yeah, I'd say a most recent lesson is running the business, right? So when I launched the business, this was October 2023, I was definitely in the weeds of running the business, making sure I had a CRM, making sure that I had the right platforms, that I had insurance, marketing to a certain degree. And then I started to get clients. And then I did the client work. And while doing the client work, I started to neglect the things that keep generating the business, right? In particular, the marketing. IQEQ exists. It's a wonderful firm. We deliver great service. But until the public knows about it, how is it valuable? How is it growing? So it's primarily the growth of the firm that I have not been as focused on. And just being able to start to balance the two, client servicing and running the business, doing the thing. I mean, the bills are going out, right? But in terms of just being forward-minded in a marketing and sales perspective, that has been a shortcoming, something that I have realized is a great opportunity to improve upon, and I'm in full execution mode with that. Also recognizing when you need help. Like, I probably need an assistant, whether that is an intern or a paid assistant or paid interns these days. There is definitely opportunity for help. And when I get that help and support, I will probably be able to grow and flourish even more.
And because we're on this podcast and it might be your assistant might be watching, your future assistant might be watching, what type of qualities, skill sets would you want an intern or assistant to have?
So I think we started out with some key terms like self-starter, go-getter. There's definitely a degree of initiative, self-initiative that one would probably have to have in terms of a curiosity about the work that's done. I don't necessarily need a passionate person about law or about compliance or any of those things, but someone who's curious and open to learning more about it. Someone who will receive information and be a critical thinker and ask the questions, perhaps be perceptive in terms of what a particular task on a current day may have an effect on in the future. Well, let's say there's a matter that has a statute of limitations, and in telling someone that I need certain tasks done, they are aware of that statute of limitations, so they know that they have to work to a certain cadence to make sure that we don't run afoul of the statute of limitations, things like that. And I think it's on both ends that an individual would have to educate, or a leader would have to educate on those things to develop that perception. But that's just an example of one or two of the qualities that I would be looking for. And dependable. Definitely want to be dependable.
You need dependability, reliability, like seriously.
Yes, yes.
You could just do it yourself.
That part. And that's the conundrum you end up coming into, is that you find somebody, but then you end up having to do it yourself, or it's just more efficient to have done it yourself, unfortunately.
Who or what has had the biggest impact on your legal career so far?
I got my biggest start from Ken Thompson. He is now passed on, but he gave me my first job as an attorney with the opportunity to go into the courtroom. I was a prosecutor for 4 years, and that was pretty early on in my career. And I think that definitely gave some foundational skill set in terms of courtroom presence, trial preparation, investigation, things of that nature. But I think it added some legitimacy to my resume. Let me put that in quotes, legitimacy to my resume. And that probably has to go back into the deeply rooted imposter syndrome, right? I spit out prosecutor and people like, oh, right. So there is some validity to, I guess, the legitimacy aspect of it, unfortunately. But yeah, it did make me a little bit more of a solid attorney. I also think it gave me something to fall back on if ever I want to practice criminal law. I know what it is to prosecute. So that mindset is already instilled.
What's been like a memorable case that you've handled? Of course, client confidentiality, protection and all that good stuff. But
yeah,
a wild case or something that happened that was really bizarre.
Bizarre. Okay, so admittedly, I watch a lot of reality TV. At one point in life, I really loved Lifetime. I was glued to the station. While I was a prosecutor, we had a matter where it was basically a love triangle. And the reason I was able to connect that it was a love triangle and that people had intimate relations was because of Lifetime. I was basically able to pick up on the cues, right? It was just a lover's quarrel gone really bad. There were cross complaints between two victims. What a cross complaint means is that a victim on one end is alleging that another victim on the same end of the discretion or transaction or event, they both have criminal claims against one another. But yeah, it was just too connected. I ended up asking, is there a man involved? And the reaction of the individual just gave it all away. And we were able to actually come to a resolution once we got all of that out the way. We spoke through the emotion of it and we got to the actual pragmatic part. And thankfully, like I said, we're able to get to a resolution.
Thank you, Lifetime, for the save. I was like,
for real. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to jump into kind of like a game portion. I like to do like a would you rather section. So before we do the would you rather, one question I have is, which superpower would you pick to help you win a case? So we got 4 choices. We have mind reading, enhanced persuasion, lie detection, and perfect memory.
I would do the first one. I think it was mind, knowing what's going on in someone's mind.
Yeah.
So there is a saying, never ask a question that you don't know the answer to in law, especially when you're on trial. I think I'm already pretty persuasive. I'm good at that. I think I, trust my instincts in picking up on lies, or at least getting to the circumstantial evidence that leads me to a lie. But I think being able to read people's minds only in a courtroom setting, I don't think I'd want to do it anywhere else. It's too much information to control. Yes, particularly, yeah.
Now to the would you rather. All right. So would you rather legal edition? Would you rather work on a high pressure case with zero budget, or have all the time and money you need but be under constant media scrutiny?
High pressure, zero budget. I worked very well under pressure. And yeah, that billable hour is something to look forward to. And it can also bring somebody down to their knees. But yeah, that would be a fun scenario. And I've been in those scenarios before. So let's do it.
Would you rather mentor 100 young professionals or work with one genius who could revolutionize the game?
I would rather work with 100 young professionals and include the one genius as one of those 100 young professionals.
That's cheating! But it works.
It is cheating.
Would you rather lose a case but deeply change someone's life, or win one that goes against your own personal values?
lose and change lives any day. One of the biggest mantras in the district attorney's office was doing justice. And if losing a case means doing justice, absolutely, any day.
Would you rather defend a famous celebrity in a PR feud case or a breakthrough startup in a precedent-setting legal battle?
The first. The PR, so long as it's not humid outside and my hair can stay cute. Because the cameras are going to be watching, you know what I'm saying?
That's exposure.
I will say this. Mayor Eric Adams' case, I was a little jealous of the attorney because he got so much spotlight, and it was very likely that associates were doing a lot of the work, but he must have had a field day in trying to figure out nuance and ways around, and we won't go any further than that.
Yeah. Okay. Would you rather cross-examine your legal idol in court or debate a billionaire business mogul on legal ethics?
Debate. I like debate. I like talking. Yeah. Let's go.
I feel like any lawyer loves debating. That's why you're
there.
Right?
When I went to law school, I literally thought that they would teach you how to debate and argue. It is very far from that.
Would you rather handwrite 1,000 pages of contracts or try to decode a client's legal issue based entirely on memes?
I wrote the bar and I took the bar twice, so I think I'd be okay with the 1,000 pages.
That's a millennial answer.
Yeah. Right.
Yes. Would you rather have a legal client who treats you like their therapist or a startup co-founder who thinks they're a lawyer?
Oh, Jesus. Oh, I've had both. Oh my God. Therapist. Again, going back to the billable hour. And I am not a shark. I'm not after the money only, but given those two horrible scenarios, I'm going to take therapy. I'm going to bill. There is nothing like a client who thinks that they are an attorney. It's very difficult. So I will make some cash with the difficulty in therapy.
Agreed. I think it's equivalent to for like the hairstylist, when people come in like, oh, on YouTube they tell me this or whatever.
That's the worst. Oh my goodness.
They're like, okay.
Don't do that. Oh Lord.
Yeah. Would you rather raise $5 million from micromanaging investors or bootstrap with a co-founder who thinks NDAs are bad vibes?
Oh God. Where did you get these? It's horrible. The first one, I'm not doing the NDA nonsense. No, you need an NDA. Y'all need an NDA.
Thank you for playing Would You Rather.
It was great. Thank you for having me.
Speaking of kind of like legal advice or just like having an NDA, what is your go-to advice for people seeking legit, trustworthy legal resources?
There are obviously a lot of digital resources out there. We'll start with ChatGPT. ChatGPT is great in very, very, very limited circumstances. I would not include law as one of those things. I believe if you give ChatGPT a contract already written by an attorney and you give it some factors that it should consider, it could get you pretty close to what you need, but there's really no replacing the knowledge base of an attorney. ChatGPT, you have to keep in mind, is pulling from resources all over the internet, right? Internationally, globally. When you are dealing with the nuance of law, one, you have to figure out what the jurisdiction is. And even if you input, hey, this is New York State jurisdiction, depending on what county you're in, there's even more nuance, right? So it's really important to make sure that you are run the thing through ChatGPT if this is something that is, it's cost sensitive, but bring it to an attorney to review at the very least. And people get tripped up over big, big, big things because of very short sentences and missing commas and missing words. And it's really smart to put the money in up front versus having to be sued and figure the thing out down the line.
Where do you see IQEQ in the next 5 years? Or where do you hope to see it?
I'm eliminating hope. We are going to be multi-jurisdictional. I can practice in New York and Washington, D.C. at the moment. I would like to expand where to. I'm not quite sure yet. But in terms of growth, I definitely would like to be educating the public a lot more. My audience are prime contractors, small businesses, government agencies, elected officials. But yeah, educating them on the law, hopefully influencing decisions as to law. You know, this has been themed the billable hour. I would love to be billing a lot, or not even me. I'd love my associates to be billing a lot while I can yacht in Capri. I hope this was recorded. That particular section definitely needs to be highlighted. Why? Because in 5 years, we will be watching this from my yacht. You'll be with me, Adia. And we can have our backgrounds on the yacht. It's going to be great. Right. It'll be, or it'll be the ocean.
Oh, yes.
That part.
I love that for us.
Amen. Amen. Claiming it.
Awesome. I do have another question in terms of lawmaking, right?
Yeah.
If you could write one law and everyone had to follow it, what would it be and why?
At this time, given what we are currently going through, it would probably be as it relates to not NATO, the UN, right? There have been some countries reluctant to vote in favor of humanity and life-saving steps. And there are currently many atrocities taking place, genocide taking place, famine taking place. And I think but for 2 countries making very, very bad, inhumane decisions, we would be in a better place as a humanity, actually taking care of people. So that would be a resolution that I would want written and passed immediately if we could. And that would be to save millions of lives globally.
Love it. What imparting advice would you want to share with someone who's starting out, one, in law, right, in the legal career, and 2, for someone who is starting a business?
For the new attorney, always stay learning, reading, educating yourself, networking, not particularly in that order, but in some combination. Your network is literally your net worth. That's your next client and or your referral to the next client. For both a new attorney and somebody being a new entrepreneur, stay ready, right? So have your documents organized, your files organized, have some templates so that you're ready to go. Have a suit that is ready to go for the meeting that spontaneously pops up for tomorrow morning's breakfast. But yeah, literally staying ready and staying educated. And, you know, this is kind of an aside to networking, but staying visible. Those are the things that I think will definitely promote a new attorney and a new business.
The title is Stay Ready So You Don't Have to Get Ready. Yes.
That is some real stuff. Just real quick, I had an opportunity I had to bypass because I didn't have a step and repeat. And it takes about 5 days to print it and have it produced and have it shipped. 5 days.
And it was like happening the next day.
It was happening in 6 days, but by the time I went to order the step and repeat, it was too late.
Wow.
Yeah.
Stay ready. Also,
stay ready. Stay ready.
How can our followers, potential clients, get in contact with you, see any upcoming projects that you have going on, all that good stuff?
I am pretty active on Instagram. My handle is at Indiyonce. That's INDIYONCE_ESQ_MBA. My website is always active. There is a link or an opportunity to click and set up an appointment with me if you are a potential client that is facing any issue related to a necessity for lobbying activity, government relations, bill passage, drafting, procurement here in New York City and New York State. And I'm definitely open to connecting with current students who might be interested in law and or entrepreneurism or anything having to do with Baruch. So I'm really happy to stay in touch.
Thank you so much. It was great talking to you today, India, learning more about IQEQ and more about things that you would choose or would you rather.
Thank you.
You're really ethical, okay? Very ethical.
I appreciate that.
Thank you so much. And I hope
Thank you.
IQEQ really does get the yacht in 5 years, because I would love to be on.
We'll be tripping on a yacht.
Yes.
I know I'm human problems, yeah, I got plenty, but I won't stop her too until I die.